All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden chess match that's literally playing out right in front of us on the football pitch. For decades, we've basically thought of defending as just an act of pure destruction, right? Breaking up the play. But today, we're diving into the data, the tactics, and the history to show you how defending has actually transformed into the ultimate act of creation, and specifically how defenders are using a concept called numerical superiority to completely manufacture space on the field. Let's get into it. So, I want you to just think about this for a second. What makes the perfect modern defender? Is it being 6'4", built like a tank? Is it that crazy willingness to just put your body on the line and head a ball away no matter what? Well, for a really long time, the answer to all of those was just a massive yes. But today, we are completely rethinking what it actually means to defend, and we're tracing a tactical evolution that honestly changed the sport forever.
And honestly, there is no better way to set the stage for this than with this legendary quote from the Italian maestro himself, Paolo Maldini. He said, "If I have to make a tackle, I've already made a mistake." I mean, really think about that. The ultimate defender is literally telling us that the very thing we traditionally associate with defending, tackling, is actually a sign of failure. It completely flips the script, putting game intelligence, positioning, and anticipation way above just physical destruction.
Okay, Section 1, the traditional stopper and the libero. To really grasp where we are today, we first have to understand the historical baseline of defending in the 20th century. Let's do a super quick comparison here. On the left, you've got the traditional stopper. Think of those absolute warriors, guys like John Terry or Nemanja Vidic, basically acting as human brick walls. Their job was brilliantly uncompromising. Stop the attack before it develops. End of story. They were aggressive, completely dominant in the air, and totally focused on immediate intervention. It wasn't about deeply reading the game, it was about destroying danger the absolute second it entered their zone. Now compare that to the right side, the modern ball player. This is all about composure, progressive passing, and being completely immune to pressure. But, even back in the day, there were these little glimpses of the future, mostly in the form of the libero. 14. That is the absolutely miraculous number of goals AC Milan conceded in the entire 1993/94 Serie A season. And a huge reason for that was Franco Baresi's totally revolutionary libero role. He operated as this free man behind the defensive line. He didn't man-mark anyone. Instead, he just swept up mistakes, read the game like a book, and, most importantly, started attacks. Baresi was basically defending with the mind and the freedom of a midfielder. Which brings us to Section 2, the high pressing problem. So if the traditional stopper was so solid, why did the game even move on? Well, a massive tactical shift happened. And the culprit was the high press. Modern teams figured out that if they used high-intensity pressing to specifically target center backs, they could wreak havoc. You put a traditional stopper under immediate pressure with the ball at their feet, and it's like a deer in headlights. Their first instinct is to just boot the ball away, which instantly exposes them. They panic, go long, and just hand possession right back. The whole point of the high press was to exploit defenders who couldn't pass. Suddenly, the pure stopper was a massive liability if the team wanted to build out from the back. Section 3, math on the pitch. Elite managers realized individual skill wasn't enough anymore. They needed a systemic fix to beat the press. They literally had to use math. So here's where it gets really fascinating. The crucial point here is simple math, summarized perfectly as the +1 principle, or numerical superiority. Let's say your opponent sends 2 strikers to press your 2 center backs. You are instantly stuck in a very vulnerable 2 versus 2 situation. But if you just drop a third player into that buildup, boom, you now have a 3 versus 2 advantage. You have your +1. By artificially overloading a specific area with more of your guys than they have defenders, you mathematically guarantee that one of your players is going to be completely open. This right here is exactly how numerical superiority creates physical space on a crowded pitch. It's brilliant. Let's break down how the absolute elite defenders actually pull this off. We see guys like Dayot Upamecano or Pau Cubarsí using this awesome technique called a proactive pause. Step 1. The center back literally just stands still with the ball at his feet, inviting the pressure. Step 2. An opponent eventually gets frustrated, breaks their nice compact formation, and steps up to press. Step 3. The center back immediately pings the ball right into the exact space that pressing opponent just left empty. They're literally using themselves as bait to manipulate the other team and just rip open those compact defensive blocks. And the ultimate system for creating this kind of math? It's called the salida level piana, or the level ping going out. It was pioneered by Ricardo La Volpe and totally perfected by Pep Guardiola. It's a beautiful little mechanism. Basically, the defensive midfielder drops right down between the two center backs, while the fullbacks bomb high and wide up the pitch. Instantly, you've manufactured a 3 versus 2 or even a 3 versus 1 advantage right at the back. That one free player now has all the time and space in the world to bypass that first line of pressure. So you see, space is being created not by running faster, but by calculating better. Section 4. The ball-playing solution and the anti-stat. So what does the ultimate version of this modern defender actually look like when we check the data? Well, take a look at this staggering number from Virgil van Dijk. The guy wins 72.2% of his aerial duels. That firmly plants him in the 95th percentile for defenders in Europe. So he absolutely still has that traditional stopper physicality, right? He completely dominates his zone and totally controls the physical space in the air. But here is the wild anti-stat. 1. Virgil van Dijk only averages 1 single tackle per 90 minutes. 1. That drops him down into the bottom 9th percentile for center backs. Honestly, if you only looked at traditional defensive metrics, you'd think he was awful. But this proves exactly what Paolo Maldini was talking about earlier. Van Dijk neutralizes threats through elite positioning and anticipation way before a tackle is ever needed. He doesn't have to tackle because he's already read the play and stepped into the right space. Section 5. Guardiola's tactical innovations. Of course, once the ball-playing defender solved the whole high press issue, the game just had to keep evolving. And literally nobody mutated these concepts faster than Pep Guardiola over in the Premier League. Just look at this crazy shift in Manchester City's chance creation over a relatively short period. Back in the 17-18 season, it was traditional forwards doing the work: Aguero, Jesus, Sterling. But by 2021, Guardiola was playing without a striker entirely. He used Sterling, Gundogan, and De Bruyne as false nines to completely overload the midfield. And then flip to 22-23, and they pivot to the absolute blunt force of Erling Haaland. So why does this matter for the guys at the back? Because every single time Guardiola tweaked the shape of his attack, his defenders had to completely adapt their build-up play. They were constantly having to recalculate how to maintain that numerical superiority, whether it was shifting to play through the lines, overloading the midfield, or suddenly looking for direct long balls into space. Which leads us to Section 6, the modern hybrid defender. This is it, the absolute pinnacle of current defensive evolution. All this constant tactical evolution brings us to what we call the auxiliary fullback. Mid-match, without even making a substitution, you'll see a center back like John Stones or Ruben Diaz just step sideways into the fullback corridor. The actual fullback then pushes way up into midfield. By transforming into this extra ball carrier out wide, they're once again using numerical superiority to completely manufacture space in areas the opposition's press was just never designed to handle. They are quite literally changing the entire structural shape of their team on the fly. It's wild to watch. And honestly, this explains exactly why these players cost so much money right now. You are essentially looking for a unicorn. A player who combines the bruising, tough guy physicality of a 1970s stopper, the surgical passing composure of a modern ball player, and the roaming tactical intelligence of a 1990s libero. Coaching a stopper doesn't magically produce a ball player, and vice versa. Finding a human being who has elite quality across all 3 of these dimensions, it creates extreme market scarcity. It's exactly why this hybrid skill set commands the absolute highest transfer fees in world football today. So, just taking a step back and looking at this incredible timeline, we started way back in the 70s with the aggressive stopper, whose only real job was pure destruction. Then we moved into the 90s with the highly intelligent, free-roaming libero. The 2010s gave us the smooth, press-resistant ball-playing defender, and now the 2020s absolutely demand the hybrid auxiliary fullback. The whole ultimate goal of defending has entirely shifted from simply destroying the opponent's attack to mathematically and proactively creating space for your own team. Which leaves us with a rather wild reality to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If our center backs are now expected to step into the midfield, act as auxiliary fullbacks, bait a high press, and basically operate as deep-lying playmakers, who is actually left to defend? It's a pretty massive question and one that threatens to turn football tactics completely inside out all over again. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and hey, keep an eye on that back line the next time you watch a match.